Before time as we know it, when the world was chaos and void, Olodumare, the supreme being of Yoruba cosmology, breathed life into a pantheon of orishas to shape creation. Among them was Osun, the only female sent to co-create the universe. While male orishas tried to dominate the process, they failed miserably until Osun, embodying divine feminine energy, restored balance. Her beauty was unmatched, her wisdom eternal, and her energy fluid and powerful like the river she would become. Osun wasn't merely assigned a river, she is the river. Her spirit animates the Osun River that winds through Osogbo, Nigeria, and her voice echoes in every stream, whispering secrets to those who listen. She is not just a goddess of water, but of life, fertility, wealth, seduction, and spiritual cleansing. Her waters heal, nourish, and purify, but they also warn. To ignore her is to welcome imbalance. Legends say Osun was once married to Shango, the fiery Orisha of thunder, a union that symbolized passion, power, and divine polarity. Yet, even the god of thunder could not contain her. She has lovers, allies, and enemies, but she belongs to no one. Osun is an archetype, the blueprint of the untamed feminine, the sacred womb, the chaos and order of emotion itself. In Yoruba cosmology, Osun governs the Age, the mystical power of women to create, destroy, and renew. It is said that she gave this force to women as a sacred trust. In doing so, she ensured that no man's spirit or god could fully control the destiny of the earth. She became the spiritual anchor for generations of women, midwives, priestesses, and rulers. Her name is whispered in births, cried out in rituals, and feared in curses. To this day, when initiates enter her worship, they do not merely call her name. They invoke a force of nature, a primordial soul wrapped in honey and veiled in gold, who can bless you with children or drag you into the deep if you dare mock her power. This is Osun, the mysterious goddess who shaped the world, and is far from done. Osun is often romanticized as the gentle, golden goddess of love, fertility, and rivers, but few speak of her terrifying duality. Beneath the silk and sweetness lies a force that can drown empires. The same river that nurtures crops can sweep away villages. The same honey that soothes wounds can ferment into poison. Osun's wrath is not impulsive. It is strategic, elemental, and divine. When disrespected, she does not shout, she withholds. And when the world goes dry, her absence speaks louder than thunder. According to Yoruba oral traditions, there was a time the male Orishas attempted to build a world without Osun. They scorned her, believing her feminine presence was unnecessary. So she vanished. And with her went balance. Crops failed, children died, and chaos overtook creation. Realizing their folly, the Orishas begged Olodumare to intervene. The Supreme Being sent them back, with apologies and offerings, for only Osun could restore what had been broken. She returned, but her lesson was clear. Without the feminine, there is no life. In another tale, Osun took the form of a black vulture, an ancient messenger bird, to carry prayers from earth to the heavens. The gods had failed to reach Olodumare, but Osun's sacrifice and persistence saved the world from destruction. That form, the vulture, misunderstood and feared, symbolizes her fierce devotion, not weakness. She is beauty wrapped in blood, elegance with wings of bone. Her power lies in her refusal to be defined by softness alone. Osun does not retaliate in the way mortals do. Instead, she disrupts harmony. She pulls back her blessings, turning rivers into deserts, wombs into tombs, and laughter into weeping. This is why her worshippers tread carefully. Honey is offered not just as sweetness, but as a bribe. Brass mirrors, peacock feathers, and golden jewelry are given in reverence, not vanity. Every act of devotion is a negotiation, with a goddess who smiles as she tests your sincerity. In her wrath, Osun becomes the mirror of human pride and imbalance. She teaches that love without respect becomes manipulation. that beauty without reverence invites decay. She is the embodiment of feminine justice, a justice that does not seek revenge, but restoration through consequence. When Osun is angry, the world feels it. And in a time when nature is wounded and femininity is still suppressed, perhaps her wrath is once again rising. Deep within the forests of Osogbo, Nigeria, lies a mystical realm untouched by time. The Osun Osogbo Sacred Grove. It is not merely a forest, it is a living altar, a portal where the spiritual and physical realms collide. Here, Osun is not remembered. She is alive. Her energy pulses through the dense vegetation, dances on the surface of the river, and whispers through ancient trees. It is one of the last sacred groves remaining in Yoruba culture and the most revered site of Osun worship, protected for centuries by priestesses, kings, and divine law. According to legend, Osun appeared to the founders of Osogbo after they fled war and famine. She warned them never to violate her sacred forest and promised to protect them if they honored her with devotion. The people agreed, and Osun kept her word. The town of Osogbo flourished under her spiritual guardianship. Each year since then, people have returned to the grove during the Osun Osogbo festival, bringing offerings of honey, kola nuts, and prayers. In return, they seek healing, fertility, wealth, and divine favor. At the heart of this festival stands the Arugba, a young virgin girl chosen to carry sacred offerings in a ritual procession. Flanked by drummers, dancers, and thousands of worshippers, the Arugba walks silently through the crowd, bearing the hopes of a community. Behind her is the Ataoja, the spiritual king of Osogbo, who performs royal rites at Osun's shrine. Their roles are not symbolic. They are sacred vessels through which Osun still speaks. Every step, every chant, every drumbeat is a reminder. The goddess is present, and her eyes are watching. The grove itself is adorned with towering sculptures, shrines, and ancient trees that have grown into sacred monuments. Many of these structures were preserved and expanded by Austrian artist Susanne Wenger, who became a Yoruba priestess and helped restore Osun's sacred site during the 20th century. Her fusion of art and ritual attracted global attention, earning the grove its status as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2005. But beyond the recognition lies a deeper truth. This is one of the few places on Earth where an ancient goddess still walks among her people. The Osun Osogbo Grove is not a relic of the past. It is a defiant symbol of cultural survival and spiritual resistance. In a world rapidly losing touch with the sacred, the grove stands as a lush, breathing reminder that the divine feminine cannot be erased. Osun doesn't just inhabit this forest. She is the forest, its river, its silence, its mystery. And for those who dare to walk its winding paths with reverence, they may still feel her presence, gentle, powerful, and eternal. When millions of Africans were torn from their homeland during the transatlantic slave trade, their chains could not bind their spirits. The enslaved carried with them something the slave masters could neither understand nor extinguish: their gods. Osun, the goddess of rivers, love, fertility, and divine feminine power, crossed the Atlantic not on royal barges but in the bellies of slave ships, encoded in memories, whispered in prayers, and hidden beneath Catholic saints. She would become Osun in Cuba, Osun in Brazil, and 1,000 variations across the diaspora. In these new lands of bondage and brutality, Osun became a symbol of resilience and hope. Her worship went underground, often disguised under the cloak of Catholicism. In Cuban Santeria, Osun syncretized with Our Lady of Charity, La Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre, while in Brazilian Candomblé, she merged with Nossa Senhora das Candeias. But behind these Christian faces lived the same Yoruba goddess, golden-skinned, waterbound, and powerfully protective. She was never forgotten. She was transformed, camouflaged, and kept alive by the sheer will of people who refused to let the sacred die. Her diasporic manifestations retained her dual nature. In Brazil, Osun rules over fresh water, love, wealth, and maternity. Women seeking children visit her temples, dressed in yellow, bearing honey and mirrors. In Cuba, Osun is the Orisha of sweetness and sensuality, but also of sharp justice. Her devotees perform dances that mimic her elegance and invoke her presence with tambourines and offerings. Across the diaspora, Osun is invoked in childbirth, love spells, business success, and even protection from police violence. Her relevance never faded, it adapted. These diasporic traditions are not imitations, they are evolutions. Through generations of slavery, colonialism, and diaspora, Osun's spirit endured because she represents something eternal, the divine feminine that no amount of oppression could bury. She became a vessel for cultural memory, psychological healing, and resistance. In her name, enslaved people found agency. Through her rituals, they rediscovered dignity. Her songs, sung in Yoruba tongue's long band, were acts of spiritual rebellion and ancestral remembrance. Today, Osun's shrines flourish from Havana to Bahia, from New Orleans to Port-au-Prince. She is invoked in music, art, poetry, and protest. She walks with sex workers, artists, healers, revolutionaries, and single mothers. Her honey still flows. Her river still runs. Osun's survival across the diaspora is not just a tale of endurance. It's a spiritual uprising, a golden thread of power woven through centuries of pain, reminding Black people everywhere that divinity still flows in their blood. In an age of concrete jungles, burning forests, polluted rivers, and fractured identities, the world is slowly awakening to something ancient, sacred, and feminine, the spirit of Osun. She is no longer just a goddess of Yoruba villages or secretive Afro-Caribbean altars. Osun now stands as a global symbol of ecological balance, feminine resurgence, and spiritual restoration. As humanity edges closer to collapse, socially, environmentally, spiritually, her golden voice echoes louder than ever. And those who listen are discovering that she was never just myth. She is medicine. The rivers Osun rules are drying. The wombs she blesses are under siege. The women she empowers are still silenced in boardrooms, bedrooms, and governments. But Osun, in her typical fashion, is not silent. She is rising. In art, in feminism, in ancestral healing circles, and in activism. Across Africa and the diaspora, women and men are turning to Osun not for superstition, but for realignment. Her honey is now a metaphor for self-worth. Her water, a call to protect the earth. Her mirror, a symbol to look inward before pointing fingers outward. Environmentalists now draw parallels between Osun's sacred river and the global water crisis. When her river in Osogbo became polluted, communities rose up, not just in protest, but in ritual. Cleansing ceremonies were held, songs were sung, and offerings made, not just for spiritual favor, but to heal a living body of water. This isn't folklore, it's a blueprint. Osun teaches us that nature is not a resource, it is a relative, a goddess, an extension of ourselves. Wound her, and we wound our own future. In modern spirituality, Osun represents the divine feminine archetype, the aspect of the divine that nurtures, creates, seduces, and also destroys when necessary. Her popularity has surged among those seeking to reclaim spiritual practices stripped by colonization and patriarchy. Through Osun, people rediscover ancestral pride, cultural identity, and emotional power. She doesn't ask you to convert, she dares you to remember. And when you do, you don't just find her, you find yourself. So why does Osun still reign? Because she never left. She has simply been waiting. By the riverbanks, in dreams, in melodies passed down by grandmothers, in the pulse of every woman who dares to love fiercely and live freely. Osun is not just a Yoruba goddess. She is a force, sweet, terrible, eternal. And in this age of reckoning, she is not coming back. She is already here. Osun is more than myth. She is memory encoded in feminine power. Across time and geography, she has inspired an unbroken line of women who embodied her essence. Queens who ruled with grace and iron, priestesses who healed bodies and lands, and so-called witches whose only crime was channeling divine feminine energy. To understand Osun is to understand that the power of women is not secondary, it is sacred. And every woman who dares to walk in her fullness walks with Osun. In the Yoruba world, women were never weak. They were diviners, midwives, market leaders, and spiritual authorities. Osun's legacy empowered the Iyalode, the political voice of women, and the Iyami Aje, the secretive spiritual society believed to hold the most potent form of female power. Osun flows through them, through every matriarch who holds her family together, and every girl who refuses to be silent. When a woman speaks truth to power in a world that fears her voice, Osun smiles. But colonialism and Western religions branded this power dangerous. They called priestesses witches. They stripped Osun from altars and replaced her with icons of obedience. They demonized the river and drained the womb of its sacred meaning. Yet even under centuries of oppression, the goddess whispered from shadows, appearing in dreams, poetry, and rebellion. Every enslaved woman who sang to the moon in secret, every mother who healed with herbs, every freedom fighter who dressed in gold was a vessel of Osun. Today the tide turns again. Black women across the globe are reclaiming Osun not just as a deity, but as a personal archetype. In hair rituals, in sacred baths, in affirmations of worth, they say, "I am enough, I am powerful, I am divine." Osun has become a modern spiritual weapon against body shaming, misogyny, and spiritual erasure. She is a goddess for the activists, the creatives, the nurturers, and for those who feel broken. She holds them all in her golden river, reminding them, "You were never meant to be small." Osun's return is not a trend. It is an ancestral uprising. It is the voice of the divine feminine saying, "I am not your shadow, I am your source." She is every woman who knows her value, every man who honors the goddess in women, and every community that dares to restore balance. In Osun's name, the river of power flows again. And this time, it cannot be dammed. We are living in a world desperate for meaning. The gods of modernity, profit, power, speed, have left us burnt out, disconnected, and hollow. Temples have been replaced with shopping malls. Rituals have become algorithms. But in the silence between heartbeats, something ancient is returning. In dreams, in rivers, in resistance, Osun is rising, not just as a goddess of Yoruba people, but as a global spiritual force reminding humanity of everything it forgot it needed. Water, balance, love, and reverence for the divine feminine. You see it in music, where artists invoke her name without even knowing her stories. In Beyoncé's Hold Up, she appears draped in yellow, barefoot in floodwaters, swinging fury and forgiveness with a golden bat, an unmistakable nod to Osun. You see her in the rise of Black ancestral spirituality, where younger generations are rejecting colonial religion and reaching back to the river, to the groves, to the shrines their ancestors were forced to abandon. To Osun, not as a replacement for faith, but as a restoration of identity. Her legacy is alive in the people she inspires, in the healer who blesses water before giving it to a sick child, in the artist who paints rivers flowing from a Black woman's eyes, in the environmentalist who defends a polluted stream like it's their mother, in the mother who tells her daughter, "Your voice is sacred." Osun's return is not marked by thunderclaps or temple bells. It is whispered in the everyday magic of those who dare to live sacred lives in an unsacred world. Even institutions now recognize her. Scholars write dissertations on her mythology. Museums exhibit her iconography. UNESCO declared her sacred grove a World Heritage Site. But her real legacy isn't found in papers or plaques. It is in the tears of a woman who conceives after years of barrenness. It is in the ecstatic trance of a priestess dancing by the river. It is in the quiet moment when someone stands by flowing water, feels something stir within, and realizes she is here. Osun's story is not over, because we are her story. As long as there are rivers, women, lovers, artists, and seekers, Osun will live. Her mysteries will deepen, her voice will call, and to those who listen, not with ears but with spirit, she will reveal herself. Golden, terrible, healing, holy. She is not just a goddess, she is the memory of when we were whole. And her legacy? It's already in motion, flowing like her river, carving paths through time, washing away lies and baptizing the future. In a world gasping for healing, Osun stands as more than just a deity. She is a symbol of human resilience, feminine justice, and spiritual restoration. Her waters have quenched the thirst of the barren. Her honey has sweetened the pain of generations, and her wrath has reminded empires that power without balance is self-destruction. From the rainforests of Osogbo to the diasporic altars of Brazil, Cuba, and beyond, Osun's legacy flows in every woman who reclaims her voice, every activist who defends the sacred, and every soul who dares to remember that the divine once wore the face of a black river goddess. Her humanitarian effect isn't just in myth, it's in how she continues to inspire healing, justice, fertility, love, and ancestral pride in those the world tried to erase. Osun is the river, the womb, the mirror, and she's calling us to rise with her. If this story moved you, enlightened you, or made you feel seen, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, comment your thoughts or personal connections to Osun, share it with others who seek truth, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel for more hidden history, sacred stories, and untold African legacies. This is not just history, it's heritage, and it's time the world remembered.